The Appalachian Mountains hide more than forests and fog. They hide prisons, cold, crumbling, and filled with whispers no one dares follow. Imagine standing in a long hallway of rusted steel. Rows of cells stretch into darkness. The air is heavy, so heavy you swear someone is breathing beside you. Then, clang, a steel door slams shut at the far end. But there's no one there. Locals say one particular cell is always locked. No guard could open it. No prisoner was ever assigned to it. And yet, scratching sounds echo from inside, like nails dragging across stone. Those who linger outside that door too long, they never walk out the same. Some claim they hear voices calling their name for weeks afterward. Others, well, they don't talk about what they saw at all. Welcome to the Appalachian Haunted Prison, a place where pain lingers like smoke, where the walls remember every scream, and where the cells themselves still suffer. But before we unlock the true horrors of this prison's past, ask yourself this. If you heard chains dragging closer, echoing through the dark, would you dare look back? Deep in the Appalachian Mountains, where roads turn to gravel and fog rolls low through the trees, stand a structure most people pretend isn't there. The prison, once a proud fortress of iron and stone, now rotting, overgrown, and humming with secrets. It was built in the late 1800s, when the region was swelling with coal and timber work. Towns needed labor. Judges needed sentences. And so a prison rose, thick walls, barbed fences, and cell blocks stacked like tombs. But this wasn't a place for reform. It was a place for punishment. Men were locked away for decades, sometimes for stealing food, sometimes for debts they could never repay. The guards didn't just enforce rules, they enjoyed them. Beatings, starvation, and days spent chained in darkness were routine. The prison became infamous across Appalachia. Mothers whispered its name to frighten children into behaving. And yet, official records barely mention it, as if the state itself wanted to erase the cruelty within. Still, locals remember, because the screams carried across the mountains. In winter, fog would settle into the yard, thick as wool. Guards claimed they saw faces drifting in that fog, men who had already died within those walls, staring back at the living. When lightning struck the hills, shadows seemed to scatter across the cells, as if something was trying to escape. Even after it was shut down in the mid-1900s, people swore the prison never emptied. Farmers passing on horseback heard chains clattering. Hikers reported voices whispering their names. And those who dared step inside said the air was suffocating, as if the walls themselves were closing in. Nature has started to reclaim it. Vines crawl across the stone like veins. Owls nest in the rafters. But the echoes of suffering refuse to fade. Some say that's because pain this deep doesn't vanish. It anchors itself. And in this prison, suffering was endless. Every cell, every brick soaked in it. The place became known not as a ruin, but as a wound. A wound the mountains themselves refuse to heal. And the deeper you go inside, the louder that wound bleeds. Step inside the prison today, and the silence isn't silence at all. It's layered. The soft drip of water from cracked ceilings. The shuffle of rats scurrying through pipes. And beneath it all, something else. A faint whisper. Low, steady, like breath against the back of your neck. Urban explorers who've dared to enter describe it the same way. They push open the rusted gates, flashlights trembling in their hands, and within minutes, they hear footsteps. Not ahead, not behind, but beside them. Shuffling boots that keep perfect pace even when no one is there. One group of explorers swore they heard the sound of keys jingling, as though a guard was making rounds. They followed the noise, their camera recording the whole time, until the sound led them to an empty corridor. The keys stopped, but the door at the end of the hall creaked open on its own. Former guards have their stories, too. One man said that after the prison shut down, he returned out of curiosity. When he reached cell block C, he heard a man shouting for release, his fists pounding the iron bars. The sound was so real, the guard admitted he almost reached for the keys he no longer carried. But when he stepped closer, Every door in that row rattled violently at once, metal clanging like a storm. He ran, never stepping foot inside again. Visitors talk about shadows that move differently than the light. Figures that cross the hall, even when flashlights can't find source. And voices that whisper their names, perfectly clear, even though no one in their group has spoken. One hiker, who stumbled upon the site by accident, claimed something followed him home. At night, he still hears a man's breathing in his bedroom. Sometimes, chains dragging across the floor. The prison may be abandoned, but the prisoners? They never stopped serving time. And the deeper you walk into those cell blocks, the louder the whispers become. Until you realize they're not whispering at all. They're screaming. Every prison has a warden. And this one had a man whose name locals still refuse to say out loud. He was strict, cold, and crueler than the inmates themselves. The warden believed mercy was weakness. His punishments were legendary, locking men in pitch-black cells for weeks, chaining them to walls until their wrists bled, and worse. Some whispered he enjoyed watching men break more than he enjoyed enforcing order. It said he kept a private journal, not of rules or records, but of experiments. Prisoners were tested, starved, deprived of sleep, forced to endure endless silence, then endless noise. He wrote about it, page after page, as if human suffering was his science. When the prison finally shut down, officials claimed he disappeared. No grave, no retirement papers, no forwarding address, just gone. But those who've entered his old office say otherwise. The room is still there, decayed but intact. A heavy oak desk, a cracked leather chair, and the faint smell of cigar smoke, even though the building has been empty for decades. Explorers tell of drawers that slam open on their own, of pens rolling across the desk as if guided by an unseen hand. One visitor swore he found the warden's journal, pages curling and yellowed, but when he reached the final entry, it ended mid-sentence. He dropped the book in terror, only to watch it vanish when he looked back down. And then there's the mirror. Behind the desk hangs a long, fractured mirror. Locals warn, never look into it. Because if you do, you won't see your own reflection. You'll see him, the warden, standing behind you. Some say his spirit still rules the prison, that he doesn't haunt the halls out of punishment, but out of pride. The guards are gone. The prisoners are gone. But in his mind, he never stopped being in charge. And when visitors cross his territory, it isn't the prisoners they need to fear. It's the warden himself, ensuring no one leaves without his permission. So if you hear a man's voice, deep and commanding, telling you to stop, you'd better listen. Because the last person who ignored it, no one ever found them. There's a reason the prison earned its final name. Not for its walls, not for its guards, but for its cells. Each one holds something. Not furniture, not memories. Something alive. Step into the first block and the air tightens. It feels thicker, heavier. Your chest strains as though unseen hands are pressing down. Some visitors collapse before they even reach the end of the hall. The cells themselves are never quiet. From one, you'll hear weeping. From another, scraping, like nails dragging across steel. And from a third, silence, so deep it swallows the sound of your heartbeat. One explorer recorded the inside of cell 19. On the tape, you can hear him breathing nervously, whispering, "Is anyone here?" At first, nothing. Then, a chorus of voices screaming back. Men, women, children, all at once. The sound was so violent, the recording device burst with static and cut off. And then there's the infamous locked cell, the one no key could ever open. Guard avoided it. Prisoners feared it. And even now it remains sealed. But sometimes people say the door rattles. The lock scratches from inside. And if you lean close enough, you'll hear a voice, raspy, low, begging you to open it. Those who do, well, no one ever has. At least, no one who returned to tell the story. The cells don't just hold echoes of pain. They hunger for it. Every slam of a door, every scream, every breath stolen from the prisoners within. That's why the prison never dies. Because the suffering never stopped. Even now, if you stand outside those rusted gates at midnight, You might hear the cell doors slam shut, one after another, until the last one locks. And in that moment, you'll realize something terrible. You're standing outside the prison, but the sound is coming from behind you.